Hi everyone, it's great to see you. I am out on this beautiful day getting my planters just really all set here. We had a super rainy day yesterday and I quickly ran around and put all the annuals that I had purchased either into the ground or into their planters yesterday so they could get tons of rain, and now it's time to finish things off. I thought I would share with you where we're at. So I have my bag in the pot going, and I'll link below how I get this arrangement set up using a 22-inch diameter pot here with a 5-gallon nursery pot nestled in. And from last year I already had the soil around here, so I enjoyed going to the nursery so much and choosing out a bunch of Proven Winners annuals. Now this video is not sponsored by anyone. I do find that Proven Winners work really well in my rim gap plantings like this. They just seem to have a really good root base going and they really thrive for me. So when they're available, I do tend to choose those. Here I have Supertunia Bordeaux, and I have their Sweetheart Caroline Lime potato vine. And usually when I'm planting these up, I do 6 of the smaller Proven Winner annuals in them. 3 of those I try to make a real bright green just to focus on foliage, and usually I choose either a sweet potato vine or a lemon coral sedum or a creeping jenny. Those are my 3 go-to choices. And yes, I know creeping jenny, for some of you, your states have that as an invasive. It is not an invasive here, and I also always keep it in a pot, so I do have that as another option that I use. So I do my 3 bright pops of green foliage, and then I try to put in 3 really pretty flowering annuals. Now you've probably heard a lot about planting with a thriller, a filler, and a spiller. So your thriller is like the big centerpiece here. And for me this time of year, that's going to be the hydrangea in a bag that I'm going to lower in a minute. And usually for these, I tend just to do some spillers. Those plants that are going to spill over the side and make these planters just look beautiful and lush and really full. You can certainly choose to put a filler plant in, which usually grows upright a bit more, and that would look beautiful too. So now I have my rim all planted here. I'm ready to lower in my centerpiece, and in this case it's going to be a Cityline Mars hydrangea. Last year my Cityline Mars was in a bag and I used it in this corner. It did great, and once again it already has buds on it. I'm so excited. So I'm going to lower that in. Sometimes this is a 2-person job. We'll see if I can do it myself, but I might need an extra pair of hands from Dan, in that you want these plants to be held out to the side while you lower your bag in. So here's my bag, and I'm going to be careful. I think we got it. And look at how it just situates right in here, and I take my handles for my grow bag and I just tuck them in. I'll know that they're there, but you won't be able to see them. And then when it's time to take it out, come fall, I can just whisk those handles right out and it looks all set. And then you can, of course, turn it however you think is going to show off your plant the best. So over here I have my next bag in a pot planter, and I had some leftover Superbena here, and I'm actually 1 short, but that's purposeful so that I can go back to the nursery this week because I have to replace that one. Who knows what else I'll find. But I've also chosen to use the sweet potato vine here again for that great spilling effect. The verbena, although it doesn't spill as much as a sweet potato vine will, it will. This is the cherry burst with that sort of striped look that I have in my front urns that I love. And this one is a solid sort of deep bright pink. Also love that. Who knows what I'll put here. Now the hydrangea that goes in the center here is Wee Bit Giddy, also a huge success for me last year. And I think I should be all set. Gotta watch those verbena. There we go. Sometimes you just need to give it a little press to get it in place. The soil does sort of settle over the winter. And you might be able to see, I don't know if you can tell, the bag sticks up a little bit here. Some people like to fold that down. I find that my rim gap plants cover that so quickly, and because it's brown, it just blends right in. I don't even bother. Okay, let's move on to the next planter. We're in the backyard now where this particular planter is going to get dappled sunlight, and instead of doing spillers in this particular planter, these are more like fillers. They grow more upright, and this is Proven Winners All Dressed Up Ball Gown Heuchera. Oh my goodness. Believe it or not, this overwintered, these 3 plants overwintered in this pot, and they have come back so big and beautiful. I'm tempted not to buy any other type of heuchera, just get this kind. My other heuchera did come back, but nothing like this. The leaves are huge. I love the lime green. It just is gorgeous. And then I got these gorgeous non-stop tuberous begonias here. They look like roses. So this combination, not going to particularly spill over the side, but so striking. And in the center, I'm going to add, I have a rather small hydrangea here called Wedding Gown. Wedding Gown is actually a lace cap that blooms white, but it's such a full lace cap it almost looks like a mop head. And then when you come to fall, it turns a beautiful pink. Very, very pretty. And I think that the white blossoms against this will just really stand out. Now this is one time that I definitely am going to need another set of hands, because we need to hold these very carefully away while we lower in the hydrangea. Okay. Let's see. We'll do the best we can. This guy is small enough. I think I can do it one-handed. We did it. Oh, nice. So this hydrangea will gain quite a lot of height throughout the season, even though it's tiny. And look at this beautiful little bud here at the top. So Wedding Gown hydrangea all nestled in there and looking so cute. I haven't had a pot in this location before, so we'll see how this goes. But a couple of things I want to point out to you. First of all, I told you I usually do 3 plants that are just the foliage and then 3 that are flowers, and you'll notice I only have 2 creeping jennies here. And that is because one thing I learned last year is if you have a hydrangea and you know that it's going to block the back here, nobody's going to see this plant. So I saved myself some money, put that creeping jenny in a different pot, and I only have the 2 that you're really going to see. And then I have this beautiful sparkling amethysts Superbena. Love this. It did great for me last year. Really, really pretty with the softer lavender and then the deeper purple inside, and that will also spill over. Now the hydrangea that's going to live in this pot is City Line Venice. City Line Venice was overwintered in its bag, just like these others, in the shed. And it tends to be a little less cold hardy. That's why I chose to do that. And it has come back. I can tell it appreciated being in the shed. Look at that. Just such a nice height here. That's going to be perfect. Okay, so here's our next planter. This time I chose to go with our tried and true Supertunia Vista Bubblegum. I do have 3 of them, but they're not quite evenly spaced here, and that's because I have this adorable Rainbows and Hosta that actually overwintered in this pot last year, as did the Creeping Jenny that you see. So I was experimenting to see what would live. I didn't take the outer pot into the shed, just the inner bag goes in. So I wanted to see what would be hardy enough for me just to leave outside, and sure enough, it looks a lot smaller than the new things that I just put in, but they're coming back, and I'm thinking down the road then, planting Creeping Jenny and Hosta in here might be a really good choice for me. To save some money over the years, they're my favorite things anyway, so it makes sense. I've already put the bag with the hydrangea in the center here, and I'm pretty sure this is Forever and Ever Peppermint. However, I seem to have lost the tag. It always happens to a couple plants over the winter, so we'll see when it actually blooms if I'm correct. I love this combination. Oh, I can tell this is going to be one that I use a lot. You'll see that I repeat it in the front yard. So this is the lemon coral sedum, which actually I find is really good for those of you who have rabbit troubles. Now, I'm not saying your rabbits won't eat it, because bunnies are sneaky and they don't read the books on what they're not supposed to eat. But because of its kind of prickly nature, they don't tend to gravitate toward it as much, I find, and it does spill over the edge. And same with this plant, not as much of a favorite for my bunnies. This is Scaevola, or fanflower, and this is the deep purple color. It comes in white and a light pink. I think this tends to be more dynamic than those two, though. And here we have City Line Paris. City Line Paris gets big pink mop heads. If you're interested in getting this particular hydrangea, which you probably won't know until you see it blooming, don't look for the Paris. This is City Line Paris. Okay, a couple more pots. And this bag in a pot is my special hydrangea, Froggy, which is coming along great. And the interesting thing about this particular rim grap is these are all overwintered plants here. So we have some of the creeping Jenny coming back. We have some of the heuchera. I think this is the line heuchera. It's looking good, not as spectacular as the other heuchera over there, but so pleased just to see this coming back. And when I make that nursery run later this week, I will get some flowers for in here. I have two bag and a pots in the front yard, and this year I am going with what worked well last year, and that is the fanflower up here. We have a ton of bunnies in the front yard, and they didn't touch the fanflower last year, so we're sticking with that. I also noticed last year that the plant that I planted way in the back just died from lack of sunlight, so nothing planted in the back this year. I moved everything up towards the front so we can see it with our creeping Jenny. And this year I'm going to try the Everlasting Revolution hydrangea in here. Now, last year, this is my third year having it. First year I bought it, it had flowers on it, of course, it was beautiful. Last year, I kept it in the shed over winter, it still did not bloom for me. This year, I don't see any buds yet. So I have to tell you, I don't tend to hang on to plants if they're not going to perform for me, but I am willing to give it at least another year's try. It looks healthy, and maybe it will just love it up here. Okay, and I'm going to tuck in the handles, hide those, and this bag will be covered before we know it with the fanflower and the creeping Jenny. One more to go. Believe it or not, we do get morning sun here, but it is pretty deep shade in the afternoon. Last year, however, this particular hydrangea, City Line Vienna, loved this spot. So I'm putting the same hydrangea back here. We have our lemon coral sedum, the same purple fanflower, and although this particular hydrangea looks like it's on the small side, and it is, this really is quite a small hydrangea, even at its best. So it will flush out here, but it's going to stay very, very compact. And I just remembered a couple more pots I have to show you. I'm so excited about this, I just realized that there is a socket pot here without a hydrangea in it, which means I need to find another hydrangea. However, I'm trying something different with this particular pot in a pot. You'll see that I've taken a number of my coleus plants and used them in the rim gap. I've never tried that before. I don't know how well it's going to work, but I think it's a good spot for them, and definitely a great spot to find a new hydrangea. So here we really are at the last bag in the pot I'm going to show you, and I saved this one for last because although I usually put hydrangeas in the bag in the center of my planters, you can use any beautiful centerpiece that you like, and this one is a rose. So roses work very well, especially if you are going to overwinter them in your shed like I did for this one. And I have my lemon coral sedum, and I have my beautiful Supertunia bubblegum. This is going to be a spectacular planter throughout the season. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.